highlighting that this won't really reflect a change for next year, but it is a number. So legal, we have some plans, some ideas on how to reduce or control our legal expenses. But we do need to consider this is day and age that we're living in a society where lawsuits happen at a drop of a dime. So there's a few concerns here, and again, we'll talk about it. This is part of the assessment now, so we're just still going through, we're assessing where we are, where we've been in the last 5 years, how much we spent. This is all for, again, some more analysis. Okay. Highway. So this is again, another trend chart with the red line. So in 2007, highway was $12,000 or $13,000. Last year, we topped out about $120,000. I want to highlight that highway is, I think it's that everybody in town always wants nice roads. And we actually need them. I mean, considering our society, it's a requirement. So we have to carefully plan where we're going with highway spending, because we cannot continue to spend at that rate, for the number of roads we have in town. But we do need to consider that and put it into our plans. So again, this is just an assessment to understand where we've been in the last 5 years, and we have some ideas again as we go forward to address these costs. So again, fairly significant jump in 5 years. We went from 12,000 to 120,000. A major jump in our budgets, or a major piece of our budget, sorry. So that's 5-year highway expenditures. Okay, another piece, benefits. We looked into the benefits. So the red line is the total. So again, starting in 2007, we've escalated up from a total of 33,000 with an estimate in 2013 of 78,000. Fairly significant. The big number is, again, is retirement from the state. A year over year, it's 10 to 15, almost 20% raises, year over year. Social Security kind of remains sort of flat. Health insurance. So health insurance went, again, we're here at that 2007, 2008 time frame. We went from $641 to $9,600. And then from there, they've sort of flat. They jumped up to about 12 here, and then kind of remained flat for the rest of the way. But again, a significant jump here in 2007 to 2008 to jump us off the. So we're looking into what happened here. So that's the benefits. Again, benefits. Retirement. It is what it is. I think we all read the papers. Health. We can try to control health and shop around. Social Security. It is. Again, so the picture here is a continuing trend line going up the charts. Again, more expenditures for the town. Okay. So we highlighted before 2007 and 2008. What we took on this chart is we took out town hall debt out of these expenditures. Again, it was 119 in 2007, 114,000 in 2008. But what's significant in this chart, in my opinion, is the trend chart. The trend line is still climbing. So our expenditures still climb year to year to year, even when we took out the town hall debt. So the trend is, it continues to climb. We continue to spend. And as you can see, the revenues are up here, and again, they continue to get shorter and shorter. We just barely made it here. And even though the expenditures may have dropped last year, we overspent our revenue. So I thought that was a pretty significant chart. And again, the trend is going up, up, up. Okay, next one. So we've taken the time now to look at pretty much all the pieces of the pie as a 5-year review. All right. If we look at the pie chart, this is the 2012 general fund budget. So again, it's a pretty complicated document, but again, we broke it down to certain categories. Again, these are all valid, these are all on the website, our website. I'm sure they're on the controller's website too, but, so if we split the pie right now, benefits is 10%, payroll is 44%. Half, 55% of our expenditures, or our budget, sorry, it's the budget, 55% of our budget is for benefits and payroll, a significant number. Highway is about 11%. Now again, we talked about highway. Highway is always going to be there. We need to maintain our roads. It's going to be cyclical. I mean, it'll go up and down, but you know, it's a pretty steady figure. Legal, again, we're going to try to reduce legal through a couple things we'll talk about a little bit later on. Miscellaneous and supplies, I think this is key. It's a pretty big number, it's a pretty big piece of the pie, but I think this is where strategic planning really comes into play. You know, what do we invest in versus what are we spending? You know, can we cut costs and still invest in the infrastructure, whether it's computers, changing the ballast in the lights, you know, putting in some controls. So this is, and I'll talk about it a little bit further on, but we have gone to all the department chairs and saying, look, give us your wish list, tell us what you need to help do your job. What do you see in this year, what do you see in 2 years that your department, whether it's computers, you know, a printer, in George's case, maybe some tools or something for the highway or for the water department, give us your wish list of what you think that you're going to require to deliver your service to the town. And from there, the board will take the assessment and say, okay, well, we're going to try to prioritize. We'll get this list from every department, we'll prioritize and try to spend as wisely as we can. So we're going to invest in the future, but the key part of this is to try to control our costs. You know, what do we not need to spend money on? What can we combine? How can we combine services? How can we combine, well, just basically how can we, you know, control costs and become more efficient? Equipment, that kind of rises and falls, you know, you need computers. So this is the Princetown 2011 or 2012 general fund budget. Again, if we split it right down the middle, just about 55% of this is benefit and payroll. Highway's a good piece. That's actually probably a fairly low estimate on the budget, but I don't think there's too much planned this year. Legal's going to be a tough one this year. We've had some litigations or possible litigations that's driving our costs up, and then again miscellaneous or supplies. So we've got the history now. We've looked at 5 years worth of data. We've looked at 5 years worth of expenditures. We've looked at 5 years worth of budgets. We've looked at 5 years worth of revenues. And here it is. So just a point of note, our budget total here is 631, and our 2011 budget, our 2011 revenues is only 550. Again, but some of the rules from the controllers, again, overestimate your expenditures and underestimate your revenue. So, but we've seen the charts. You know, we were over last year. The year before that, we barely made the revenues. So that's pretty much a financial review of the town. Again, I tried to apply this as I would if it was my own personal family budget. You know, breaking it down to 4 pieces. I budgeted my year. I understood how much money I was going to bring in. I had a guesstimate on how much I was going to spend. There's always emergencies, and then how much am I contributing to my savings and checking. Okay. So we'll take a minute to talk about the water department and the water bonds. So we have the 4 districts: the Main, Quackenbush, Route 20, and Dow Road, as we're all aware. These are the final years on the bonds. So the Main district, these are all 38-year bonds. You can see the interest rates. They're pretty good. This one's a lot better. But they're still pretty good interest rates. There's the opening number. So we paid down about $300,000. And these dates are as of 12/31/11. so end of year, that's where we are on the water bonds. Again, there's a little bit more information to share with you to get a picture, like, so here's, again, more of the town financials. Okay. So we broke down, again, the water budgets, pretty much the same way we did the other budgets. So we have personal services, we have supplies, we have debt, and employee benefits. Again, the water budget, the water department carries their own, it's their own district, so they carry their own, payroll, they carry their own benefits, everything. So when we were looking at the 44% on the general fund budget, that did not include the water department labor, did not include the water department benefits, it didn't include anything. This, George and his team are paid out of the water department. So again, a pretty important piece when you're looking at the financials for the water, or for the town. So here the water budgets, again, the expenditures year to year. It's a good running business. I'm sure we all wish we could pay it off, but, well, it's probably a good segue into the next. Oh, here's our fund equities, beginning of the year, added revenue, the deducted appropriations, and then funds at the end of the year. Then it rolls back up to the top, and you can see how the budget works. Okay. So, water bond refinancing status. So we talked during the campaign that we're going to refinance. So this is a continuing process here. So Bank of America's already expressed to us that they're not interested in working with us. Some of the feedback from across the desk was they're not interested in doing a 38-year loan. Although the interest rates are pretty impressive, they just weren't interested in going that long in a long-term financing. But we're not done, and we continue to look at this. We are working with a resident who has municipal bond experience to pursue other avenues. What we'd like to do, and again, it's going to be I want to highlight this, it's a very complicated solution, is if we can put all the bonds together, get a lower interest rate, maybe 3.2, 3.25, work out the formulas so that the residents in each one of the districts would pay the same as they are paying today, but maybe reduce the term from 38 years down to 25 years. But again, I need to caution, it's a very complicated solution. Again, we can't make any promises. It's, again, very complicated, but we're not done working on it. We're continuing to approach other banks and working with that municipal bond resident expert. Okay. So we've touched on the financials of the town. Not only the general funds, and now we've talked on the water department. So now we've done an assessment on the physical operations of the town. So again, I want to highlight that our assessment and our watching is ongoing. We continue to assess and look at everything we can do. During the first 6 months, a couple of things have popped up, and I want to touch on them. Dan Marciniak brought to our attention, and Joe Jerzinski is working on some bids about the fire alarm system in the town hall. So the fire alarm system would work if the fire's in here, you hear the alarms, you can all get out of the building safely. The thing is that they don't go anywhere. So we're putting in some bids so that we can get some notification down to the fire department. So, we're looking at, again, the physical operations of the whole building. Energy use, we'll touch on that in a few more minutes, but there are some concerns there. We touch on the water system. So as everybody knows, we've had some issues with the valve bolt corrosion. So we contracted Corpro, who did an analysis. We are waiting on the analysis to come back. Once that analysis comes back, we'll work with George, our engineer Doug, and we'll put together a detailed analysis on what we think the solution is and the cost to the solution. So I want to highlight, especially to the people in the water districts, that there's money built into the budgets every year to address the repairs as we go through. Some years it may be a little more, some maybe not, but there is money in there. So again, and if we actually, on a side note, if we actually did get some refinancing, maybe we could roll some financing into the repairs. But George has got it well in hand. We're waiting on the analysis. He's working with Doug Cole, who's our resident engineer. So we're just patiently waiting for the analysis, and then we'll work on that. So I'm hoping maybe, either the next state of the town in January, February, or during the budget time in September, October, November, that we'll be able to present to you guys again, saying this is the analysis we came up with. Another area of concern is the computer systems and cybersecurity. So we've had a couple of incidents in the town. So we're going to address some of the solutions a little bit later on, but again, as an assessment, during the first 6 months of my time here, or our time here, this is an area of concern. Okay. So we looked at the physical operations of the town. Now we're going to look at the internal operations of the town. Some of the areas we're looking at, again, it's all part of the assessment. We're looking at timesheets, we're looking at expense reports, we're looking at overall just procedures in the town, a designated lunch hour. Again, that's pretty much standard in most of the state agencies and buildings and work, is that you take a designated lunch hour. U.S. mail is an area of concern, employee policy, computer use policies, hourly versus salary, and onboarding procedures for new employees. So areas that we've highlighted as areas we probably need to do some work on, and we'll talk about them a little bit in another minute. Okay. Another area that we're still in the process of doing an assessment on is the laws of the town. So one of the areas is our code books. So I've been working with, we've all been working, we've been exchanging ideas since pretty much we came into office, but working with the subject matter experts, who's our engineers, our dog control, our code enforcement, the water, Gino, our planner, our planning chair, our zoning board chair, working with all these guys are this team is our experts, and these are the guys who provide feedback saying, what's the challenge to us is our code books and a lot of our laws of our town are very outdated. And they need strengthening. And where the risk is litigation. Some of the codes are just not clear. We had an incident with a resident, a house was abandoned, and a lot of garbage and stuff was piling up outside. And I went to Dan, I didn't know. I said, well, I'll go down, I'll help out, I gotta pick up, I'll go down, grab the garbage and we'll take it and run it and throw it in garbage. It seemed pretty simple to me. He goes, no, can't do that. One person's garbage is another man's treasure. So Dan goes, you can't do that, it might be an antique in that garbage bin. It's like, I don't know, I didn't realize that. So, but Dan's, even though we kind of joked about it, the concern really is that our laws and our code books didn't specifically say you can go to abandoned property and pick up garbage, especially if you start turning into a health issue. So, again, that's just one example of some of our code enforcement that needs strengthening. Our zoning and planning, again, working with Gino, Pat Bishop, Vic, when some of these citizens come up and ask for some clarity on planning and zoning, the laws are pretty generic and actually, lack a lot of clarity just because they're so old. Again, one example is the water purveyor law, which we wanted to pass, or was on the books to get updated, was to protect the aquifer. The biggest resource we have in the town, and it was never passed. So, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on, but, again, that's overall, our laws are a little bit lacking, and we need to do some updating. So again, they need them updated. They're not electronic. We'd like to get them up on the website. So either the residents or developers or whoever just come in and easily, have access to them. Okay. The comprehensive plan, the sensitive piece. So, comprehensive plan, in my opinion, is a critical document. It's never been updated.